Urgent Dirty Birds fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest Dirty Birds news. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Atlanta Falcons re-sign former starting defensive back. The Atlanta Falcons announced they are resigning starting nickel D. Alford to add depth to the secondary. The Atlanta Falcons have resigned cornerback D. Alford, it announced in a press release Monday. Alford entered the offseason as a restricted free agent, but the Falcons did not tender him, making the 27-year-old an unrestricted free agent. Now, the two sides prepare for a fourth season together, since signing with the Falcons in the spring of 2022 after a successful season with the CFL's Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Alford has played in 16 games each of the past 3 seasons. Alford started a career-high 11 games in 2024, serving as Atlanta's nickel corner. He set career highs with 83 tackles, the third most on the team, and 11 passes defended, but Alford struggled in coverage. He allowed 67 catches for 606 yards and 8 touchdowns on 92 targets, according to Pro Football Reference. He was 87th out of 116 qualified corners, according to Pro Football Focus. The Falcons subsequently chose to let Alford hit the open market, and head coach Raheem Morris, who spoke with reporters April 1st at the NFL owners meeting in Palm Beach, Florida, expressed confidence in his team's nickel situation. Morris touted the Falcons' in-house options, headlined by versatile corners in Mike Hughes and Clark Phillips III. We're obviously looking forward to adding people, doing different things, and really finding a way, Morris said, later returning to the skill sets of Hughes and Phillips. Flexibility of having a Mike, having a Clark, trying to create flexibility of having Clark is something that really excites you. Alford also gives the Falcons more flexibility on draft weekend. Atlanta now has each of its top 4 corners from last season under contract, and while it's seeking upgrades, it has a safer floor than before. The Falcons don't have to draft a cornerback to survive in 2025, but if they're targeting an elevated ceiling, they may be better off if they do. If they're unable to address the secondary, it means they probably poured more resources into the pass rush, which should improve everyone on defense. Pausing this news, just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Dirty Birds news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Falcons can give Trey Hendrickson what he has long deserved. Trey Hendrickson deserves money, and the Falcons can give that to him. Trey Hendrickson has been the best player on the Cincinnati Bengals defense, and one of the most underrated players in the NFL for quite some time now. However, the franchise is refusing to pay him the money he deserves. It all culminated in a trade request to start the offseason. Since then, there has been much debate about whether he will be traded, especially after the Bengals paid their 2 receivers. Right now, it feels like he won't get a massive extension with Cincy. It is now time for the Atlanta Falcons to step in, trade some picks, and pay the franchise pass rusher. Atlanta Falcons should break the bank to land Trey Hendrickson. For as much change that has happened with the Atlanta Falcons over the past decade, one thing has remained the same: their struggles to get to the quarterback. They have tried to land that trustworthy, game-closing rusher, but each has been a swing and a miss. Trey Hendrickson is a special player who is about as consistent as it gets in the NFL. He has put together back-to-back seasons with 17, 5 sacks, all while having no help around him. The Pro Bowler deserves to be paid like one of the best in the league. His salary currently puts him at the same level as Chase Young, which is quite disrespectful. While the Falcons don't have much current cap space, they have plenty of maneuverability to hand the pass rusher fair money. Kirk Cousins won't be on the books for too long, and they aren't on the hook for any unreasonable contracts. Of course, it isn't just about handing Hendrickson money. Offering the Bengals enough compensation for them to split with their defensive leader won't be easy. With that being said, if you wait long enough, you might be able to land him for a 2nd or 3rd round pick because of his threatening to sit out the season. Adding a player like Trey Hendrickson would put the Falcons in the playoffs. He is a true game changer who is worth every penny he asks for. Falcons' refusal to grant Kirk Cousins' release is a smart move. The Atlanta Falcons' decision to deny Kirk Cousins' release request in 2025 is proving to be a smart move. After signing a massive contract in 2024, Cousins who was benched for rookie Michael Penix Jr. Late in the season, now seeks a starting role elsewhere. However, with teams like the Cleveland Browns unwilling to take on his large contract, the Falcons are in a strong position. Instead of letting him go and paying him to play for another team, they can keep him as an experienced backup. This strategy not only protects the Falcons' financial interest, but also gives them the chance to secure a trade if the right opportunity arises. Why won't the Falcons release Kirk Cousins? The Falcons are in a tough spot with Cousins, but letting him go now would be a mistake. They've already invested a lot in him, and releasing him just gives another team a starting quarterback while Atlanta still has to pay the bill. Cousins hasn't helped his case either. The way he handled things, especially blaming an injury after the season went downhill, left a bad taste. It raised questions about whether he was being honest or just trying to protect his own image. Either way, it didn't show much support for the team. I think Kirk Cousins will eventually be with the Cleveland Browns. If I were the Browns and I was getting Cousins, I would draft Travis Hunter at number 2, Dan Orlovsky, 7 PMS live pick. Twitter.com DJL36GP5AW, Pat McAfee Show, April 3, 2025. Despite these rumors, many NFL insiders still believe Cousins will be on the Browns roster by Week 1 of the 2025 season. On the Pat McAfee Show, NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky shared his take on the situation, saying, "I think Kirk Cousins will eventually be with the Cleveland Browns. If I were the Browns and I was getting Cousins, I would draft Travis Hunter at number 2. McAfee, and his crew talked about how Cousins could fit in with Cleveland, especially if the team doesn't go after a quarterback in the draft." Orlovsky mentioned how adding someone like Travis Hunter could give Cousins the playmaker he needs to spark the Browns' offense. The Falcons are standing firm, knowing they hold the leverage in this situation with Cousins. Unless a team steps up with a trade offer or he restructures his deal, Atlanta has no reason to budge. 2025 NFL Draft cornerback prospects Falcons could target in each round entirely. Possible Atlanta adds to its secondary in this year's draft, so let's go through some options that make sense for the Falcons. Disclaimer: the statements and opinions regarding players and/or potential future players in the article below are those of the AtlantaFalcons.com editorial staff and are not of the Atlanta Falcons football personnel unless noted in a direct quote. Flowery Branch Gay. The 2025 NFL Draft is drawing nearer, which means we're closer to learning who will be the newest Atlanta Falcon. There's a strong consensus building that Atlanta will use the draft to fortify its defense, and its first opportunity to do that will be at pick no. 15 in the first round. With the draft just weeks away, we're going through some key positions of need and profiling players who just might fit what Atlanta is looking for. We've already named some edge rushers and interior defensive linemen to keep an eye on, but today I'll be focusing on a position away from the trenches. It's entirely possible Atlanta adds to its secondary in this year's draft, so let's go through some of the top options. Here are the cornerback prospects who make sense for the Falcons. On each day of the 2025 NFL Draft, day 1 Jody Barron, Texas last year, the Falcons added a number of versatile players to the front of their defense. Would they want to do something similar on the back end? If so, Barron is one of the most versatile players in this draft and could be very enticing. The Texas star played more than 300 slot snaps for the Longhorns during both the 2022 and 2023 seasons before moving to outside corner in 2024, where he played nearly 700 snaps. He is very reactive in coverage and quick to trigger on the ball, which helps explain his 8 career interceptions. Barron would be a chess piece for Atlanta's defense, and he would add to nearly every facet of the game. Will Johnson, Michigan. At one point, Johnson was viewed as the consensus top cornerback. In this draft not named Travis Hunter, his stock has seemingly taken a hit in recent weeks, but the Falcons could stand to benefit. The primary concerns about Johnson seem to be his injury history and his top-end speed to carry receivers deep. Both are fair concerns for a potential top 15 pick, but Johnson offers a lot of upside and has a skill set that translates well to the league. He possesses soft, decisive feet that allow him to trigger quickly on the ball and is a smart player who reads the quarterback. That helped Johnson pick off 9 passes during his career and return 3 for touchdowns. He is 6'2" and 194 pounds with long arms, which allow him to disrupt a lot of passes. Johnson is better suited for a zone defense, but that's no problem for Atlanta. The Falcons deployed zone coverage 77 of the time in 2024, the sixth highest rate in the league. According to Next Gen Stats, Johnson has all the makings of a quality NFL corner and should be a starter for a long time. Picks no pod 15 overall, other day 1 options, NA day 2 Shaven Revel. East Carolina Revel is a fascinating prospect. Shez 6'2", 194 pounds with a wingspan that ranks in the 94th percentile of cornerbacks in the Mock Draftable database, a website that tracks verified testing and measurements of draft prospects. On a tape, Revel's speed stands out and he's explosive when accelerating and closing. All of that makes for a matchup versatile cornerback with the length to make any window minuscule. Revel's size is put to use in run defense, and he plays with a distinct attitude in this aspect of the game. The primary concern with Revel is a torn ACL he sustained in practice 3 games into the 2024 season. That injury has sidelined Revel throughout the draft process, but the recent updates have been positive. A post by Ryan Fowler, an analyst at the Draft Network, showed Revel reaching 21 miles per hour on the treadmill and said he is on track to be fully cleared by summer. Teams will undoubtedly have their own information on that front, but Revel could be a steal on day 2 if he recovers fully. Trey Amos. Ole Missy usually never pass up the chance to sing the praises of Maxwell Hairston, who I think could actually find his way into the first round, but I wanted to spotlight another player who I really like for the Falcons. Amos has all the makings of a no.1 cornerback in the NFL, but he's got relatively little fanfare because of his somewhat modest stats over 5 college seasons. Amos blanketed receivers for 3 seasons at Louisiana Lafayette before transferring to Alabama for the 2023 season and Ole Miss for the 2024 season. It was with the Rebels that Amos had his breakout year with 50 tackles, 13 passes defensed, 3 interceptions, and a forced fumble. He's athletic, instinctual, physical, and competitive, all of which are the makings of a very good cornerback. It wouldn't be stunning for Amos to go in the first round, but he has the makings of a day 2 steal for the right team. Picks no 46 overall. Other day 2 options: Maxwell Hairston, Kentucky; Azarea Thomas, Florida State; Darian Porter, Iowa State; Quincy Riley. Louisville Day 3 Jacob Parrish, Kansas State. Parrish is undersized at 5'10" and 191 pounds, which is why he could slip, but he makes up for it with his demeanor on the field. Pesky is the perfect word to describe Parrish's incessant habit of sticking in a receiver's hip pocket. He doesn't mind getting physical with opponents, although he can get grabby for stretches, and embodies the play-fast mindset. Parrish makes his presence felt on the field through his instincts and his attitude. He projects really well as a slot corner at the next level with a role on special teams. Atlanta just resigned D. Alford, but Parrish would make for fascinating competition. Mac McWilliams, Central Florida. McWilliams is a player who could be there in the 7th round for Atlanta. As with any player in this range, there are a lot of nits to pick. For McWilliams, the biggest drawback is his size. Hez 5'10", 185 pounds, and has short arms, and those deficiencies show up on tape. However, ran the 40-yard dash in 4:41 seconds, a time that also shows up on tape, and shows absolutely zero hesitancy in playing downhill against the run. That skill alone is enough to get my attention in the 7th round, and McWilliams figures to be a decent reserve slot corner with a role on special teams. Picks no 118. Overall 4th round, no 218 overall 7th round, no 242 overall 7th round. Other day 3 options: Kobe Bryant, Kansas; Zy Alexander, LSU; Elijah Huzzy, UNC; Upton Stout, Western Kentucky; Fentrell Cypress II, Florida State; Tommy Hill, Nebraska. And now, Dirty Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Dirty Birds. I'll be back any moment with more Dirty Birds. News, ATL, rise up.